Hey guys, it's Bear. This is Life of T-Men. It's Friday, July 24th. And before I get into this week's topic, I wanted to remind you that we have a Q&A video coming up soon. And to send us any questions, either comment on our individual videos or send a message or comment wherever these videos are getting posted. And we'll answer your questions when that Q&A video comes up. It's probably easiest if you have specific questions for members to comment on the individual videos, because we all share the channel. So messaging might be a little bit more difficult to deal with. Anyway, this week's topic is a life update, and I'm really proud to be doing my first topless video for the Life of T-Men channel. As far as I know, I'm the first guy on this channel who has had top surgery, so I figured, you know, it was a good opportunity to do a life update about, you know, my surgery and my experience and my recovery. I'm 6 weeks post-op this week, so it's looking really good. I'm really happy with the results. I had a double incision procedure, which you can see by looking at it, you know. The nipples were grafted on, and you know, you can find out about that procedure online pretty easily. You can even see it on YouTube, which was really cool. I watched it a couple of days before the surgery, and I'm not squeamish, so it didn't really bother me to watch an operation. The only part that really bothered me was watching them, you know, doing any cauterizing and any stapling. For some reason, the stapling was so violent that I had to kind of go, you know. But other than that, I actually sat and ate breakfast or lunch or whatever while I was watching it, so it's not too bad. So if you're curious about it, you can find it. There's a couple of different kinds of procedures. I don't know as much about the other ones because obviously I researched my own. I started out with C to D size cups, and so based on that, and based on the fact that I was really overweight earlier in life, I had a lot of extra skin and stretching, and so I pretty much went into it knowing I'm going to have double incision. And in fact, I went to the consultation, and when the surgeon started to tell me my options before he did an exam and did measurements and stuff, I said straight up to him, "You're going to want to do a double incision procedure." And he did his exam and he came in and he said, "You know what, you're 100% right. That's what we're going to have to do." So yeah, you can find out more about that just by Googling it and watching, you know, YouTube. So my surgery was a really good experience. The people over at Lutheran General took really good care of me. Came out of it pretty nauseous. And after a few days of being on pain meds, I got really, really nauseous. That was probably the only real bad part about it. The pain itself, for me, was really manageable. And for the most part, you know, you're doing a lot of sleeping because that's how the body heals. So as far as recovery went, weeks 1 and 2, I basically slept all the time. And if I wasn't sleeping, it was just to get up and do basic life functions, eat, take more pain medication, have, you know, a sponge bath, and go back to sleep. I was sleeping honestly close to like 16 hours a day, especially for the first week. So that was week 1 and 2. Week 1 and 2, you know, the pain was relevant. There were times it was worse, you know, there was times it wasn't as bad. Sleeping was rough. Even though I was doing a lot of sleeping, sleeping was uncomfortable because you have to sleep sitting up, and I like to sleep on my side. So that was a little bit rough. Restrictions during weeks 1 and 2 were pretty heavy. They don't want you to do a lot of movement. You're at pretty high risk of damaging your incisions and them opening up. In fact, you can damage the incisions and have them open until week 3, but, you know, that was about the time when I started to get a little bit more active, a little bit more independent. It's when I started driving. They didn't tell me a date when I could start driving. They just said drive when you feel like doing this motion isn't hurting and that you'll be able to react quickly. So when you're not groggy from pain meds, obviously, and when you feel like you can make that motion without, stopping because of pain. So week 3 I started driving, and I, got a little bit more active and independent. Same thing for like week 4, was just kind of testing the waters, seeing what I could do, being able to reach a little bit higher, being able to be a little bit more active. Did a lot more walking and like light exercise, which was pretty much the only exercise they told me I could do. And then week 5 was me ramping back up to go back to work this week. This week, Tuesday, was 6 weeks since my surgery, and I went back to work on Tuesday. And I also started doing some martial arts and some weights and stuff. And yeah, that's the basics of my life for the last 6 weeks. The big news right now is obviously going back to work and getting back into martial arts. At this point, I'm unrestricted as far as movement and weight bearing. Up until week 6, they don't want you to lift more than 10 pounds. So with going back to work and everything, I've just said, I don't want to do any really major lifting, or putting the order away or anything where I'm climbing a ladder, lifting something, twisting, stuff like that, just because I'm still feeling tight, and I don't want to really stretch the scars while they're healing. Other than that, it's pretty much unrestricted. As far as getting back into martial arts and training, they said to start back with light activity at 6 weeks and ramp up to full activity at 8 weeks. I didn't fully pay attention to that, and I went and I did a little bit of a rough workout on Monday this week, and I paid the price with some bruising and some blistering, which I'm going to talk about on my other channel, because I'm going to do a little bit of a treatment tutorial. So if you want to see that, I'll link the video with this video. But that's it. That's my life update. At this point, my transition socially is complete, with just the exceptions of the people that are still not quite, up to date with name and pronouns, which I don't really understand. It's been a year since I started asking people to call me by my preferred name, and it's been since November that I started actually medically transitioning. But as far as I'm concerned, my transition is pretty much over. I may or may not have more surgeries. That's a whole other video. So yeah, that's my life update for this week, you guys. Again, please send in your questions for the question and answer video that's coming up. If you have any questions specific to top surgery, recovery, hormones, personal experiences, I'm pretty much open to talking about anything except for my family, because that involves other people, and so I'm not going to talk about my family in detail online. So you can ask me pretty much anything else, and I'll talk about it. And thanks, guys, and I'll see you next week. I think next week's topic is actually school and teachers. So I actually might not do a video next week because I'm not in school, or I might figure out a way to talk about something else relevant. So maybe I'll see you next week, or maybe I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys.